Good evening, Dr. Ashish here. This is second time going live today, so it happens sometimes. And I'm going to be joined by my wonderful friend Nisanka, and we are going to discuss something interesting, a resource for parents regarding children. So she has written this wonderful ebook, and we're going to share that. Even I don't know much about it, so we're going to find out. We will have a chat about it. Hi, Nisanka.
Oh, hold on. I didn't mean to show the mess.
Hi, Nisanka. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So tell me what we are talking about this evening.
Well, I'm talking to you about what I do and also several resources that I've made available for anybody who would visit my website so they can just download for free.
Okay. This because we were talking about particularly about the ebook that you have, which is available. So tell me more about that.
Okay, so I am a conscious parent coach. That means I help parents to deeply connect with their children. And I do that using 6 steps framework that I've developed with all my 20 years of experience in teaching and, as a life coach, NLP practitioner and a complementary therapist. So the ebook is actually all about the 6 steps that I've developed. So I take you through the framework one by one with a lot of stories and a lot of activities, reflective questions, and also a tiny bit of sprinkle of theory, because when it comes to child development and parenting, there's far too many theories to fit into an ebook.
Yeah.
And, but what I've done is I've just created a very concise, it's about 21 pages, I think, but an ebook that you can go into my website and download for free.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a start. And sometimes the start is what we need, and no book is small book or big book. It's the difference that it can make to someone. So
Absolutely.
I'm sure it has got all those beautiful things, because every time I talk to you, it is always, wonderful things that we share. So I'm sure even in those 21 pages is full of material that is useful for parents, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so the book has obviously 8 chapters. One is just me introducing myself and, introducing what got me into doing what I'm doing. And then there's 6 chapters one by one, and each chapter gives you a lot of reflective questions and activities that people can take away.
Yeah.
So it will give you a really good insight to what the framework is and the difference it will make to your parenting styles, and so particularly about like recognizing some of our unhelpful patterns that get us trapped in the in our own perception sometimes.
Yeah.
The situations where we can't see the forest for is trees because we are stuck in our own tree, in our mindset. So it'll take you through how to recognize them, and then how to unlearn some of the patterns and change the patterns, and also how to quite a lot of tools, quite a few tools there for you to develop new skills that you can then apply to regulate yourself, as well as help your children self-regulate as well.
Yeah.
So even with that book, I guarantee, or I can promise, if you put it into action, obviously you can have it saved on your computer, on your phone, or in your Kindle, nothing will change. But if you actually read it and put things into practice, it will make a big difference.
Absolutely. What I find is that whenever we or you or I or anybody who starts talking about, okay, perhaps it's you who is the problem, or not the problem, but you who hasn't figured it out as a parent yet, and there are things that you need to do yourself first, on yourself, from within you. I do find that all of us do that. maybe you and I are practitioners, so we do less of it is that become very self-defensive.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I am the best parent. Yes, you are the best parent for your child, but it can get even better if you
Yeah.
have certain tools within you,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So the best way to explain that I am the best parent scenario is to understand and accept that there is the huge difference between our intention and the experience that the child is experiencing. So if we are so egoistic and are stuck in that ego, um, our own ego, and think we're doing the best for our children and not question the experience that the children is experiencing, then we're making a huge mistake
Yeah,
in 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 not allowing ourselves to understand who our children are.
yeah,
Um, so this whole framework is all about us sort of stepping outside of ourselves and taking a look at some of those patterns, and changing them.
yeah, yeah. I remember when I was doing personal development module, when I was doing my herbal medicine, BSc. And one of the books was The Games Families Play. I think might not be the correct title, but it was something similar. The
Games, games people play.
games people play. And it had a lot of examples of families, what happens in families. And that was my first time reading something like that. I'm a very conscientious person, even otherwise, even before having children. But when I read that, and then you start to look at your family differently, I looked at certain things, what was happening in my family when I was growing up. And some of the things you want to do differently or the same because you don't know any different. That is but I think one biggest thing out of that is for me was that is the pattern which we don't understand, that we are stuck in that pattern, you know
Yeah,
and unless we do something different, that pattern will not change. Yeah, we're going to keep going on the same loop.
absolutely. The thing is, these patterns are so ingrained in us. We think these patterns are our identity, and it's not our identity. It is an old narrative that we keep playing over and over and over again,
Yeah,
and that we bring into our relationships, new relationships, old relationships, parent-child relationship dynamic. We just keep bringing them in, and and then we ask the question, why is it not working? Why is it stressful? And I was having a chat with one of my colleagues this morning, and I was trying to tell when children have the language to express their emotions, and they feel safe enough to express that, what they're going through, and then so first understand the language, and then feel safe enough, and then third, feel safe enough to ask what they need.
yeah,
Life becomes really, really, really simple. And if you're that parent who's created that space for children, who's given the children the language, then parenting is actually easier, because parenting in itself is a very complex job that we don't get trained at,
the
right? It
hardest
is
job.
the most difficult job
Yeah.
on planet, and none of us acquire skills for it, and none of us get trained on it. If you go and work as a cleaner, you get trained. If you go work as you get trained. This a parenting is a combination of financial planner, counselor, therapist, a coach, a chauffeur, it's just cook,
A
everything.
doctor.
Role, and you don't get training on it
Yeah,
at all. So that's why people need help, and to understand that this is a profession, that this needs this profession needs skills, and have the sort of allow yourself, or give yourself permission to ask for help, and
yeah.
and get the training, get the skills you need. I mean, and become conscious about what you're doing.
Yeah, well, you can get training as well if you want to, training on a kind of a, just to understand better the dynamics. So you don't have to necessarily be a child therapist or anything specialist, but just to even understand the dynamics between you and your child or children, or more than however many kids you have. But it is um, because you mentioned about ego, and I think it is one of the biggest things as parents that we need to give up, is the
Yeah,
ego, is knowing this, that you don't know anything, you know. And I find, yeah, I'm generalizing here, but I find that is a problem in some cultures where parents think they know the best, they are the best, and then we have a problem because we don't have an honest and open discussion.
yeah, yeah. I think, it is a problem in every culture. It is a problem in every single parent. The intensity of that problem, uh, in some places it's a bit thicker than the other cultures. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way. And I mean, you and I are both from Asian cultures. We know that the hierarchical approach is higher. And but at the same time, I don't see a big difference in the Western culture or other cultures either. When you look at the parenting styles, I think it all comes down to what has been passed down to us from our ancestors. We inherit quite a lot through our genetic code anyway, some of
Yeah.
these parents, and then through cultural conditioning, through social conditioning, we learn all about these things, and then we also learn through our sort of traditions, rituals that we practice. There's a lot of things that we learn, and I'm pro rituals. I like rituals. I like traditions. Okay, and my message to any parent is, we don't have to change a culture to change our parenting and become a conscious parent. We can stay within our culture and respect the traditions, respect the rituals, and still question the messages that we are giving through the traditions and rituals. For example, in Asian culture, this is basically what I'm trying to say. In Asian culture, when a girl gets her period first, right? My experience was, we get locked up in a room. We're not allowed to come out. We're not allowed to see a man or anything like that until the auspicious time comes out.
Right.
So the message we get given is, now you've grown up, your playtime is over, right?
Right.
So kind of the message we get given is, now you belong to somebody else. You've got to keep the family name. You can't play. You can't do this. You can't explore. So there's a lot of limitations being put on
Yeah.
the woman. But I say, keep the ritual. It's fantastic to celebrate something like your first period. It is the beginning of a life, right?
Mm-hmm.
You become capable of creating another human being there. Keep the ritual, but don't give the message of it is a limitation. Just change the message. And these are the things that we can do through things like conscious parenting and changing patterns and challenging the message we get given, because our grandparents kept doing it, or our entire ancestral ancestors kept doing it. We don't have to continue it. Do you know that story about a lamb being cut at either end? So it's basically, there's this story, right? This mother, this child is watching her mom cooks a piece of lamb. So what the mother does every day, is to cut corners of the lamb meat,
Okay.
before she puts it in the oven. So child gets really curious. She's like, "Mommy, why are you doing that?" And mom's like, "Well, your grandmother was doing that, so I've been doing it."
Yeah.
So the child gets curious and approaches the grandmother and asks the grandmother, why did you use to cut the ends of the piece of lamb? And grandmother says, "Well, my oven was really small. I couldn't put the entire piece of meat in the oven, so I had to cut it." Now, mother, without questioning why it was done in the first place, continued the tradition, and the child, being the curious one, questioned and decided and learned about it and changed it. And this is just all about conscious parenting. You become aware of your parents, you become aware of what you're doing. And if it's not relevant anymore, if it doesn't serve the child anymore, you change it and allow child to be authentic and grow up in their authentic self, because authenticity is so important for a child. You know, where there is no authenticity, there's no creativity, there is no abundance, there is no success. So authenticity, you know, being you is so, so, so important. And we as parents play a really big role in allowing our children to, analogies, bloom like the bluebells in the sun, you know. They just bloom when the sun is
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah, authenticity is the most crucial part, you know. I don't have problem about challenging the old ideas. I think, again, as you said, but this is about being aware of it. You become conscious of it. You understand why was it done. People didn't used to take shoes in the kitchen because in those days it was not hygiene was not as good as it is now. We didn't have certain measures to protect it. That's why we used to keep shoes outside and wouldn't take it in the kitchen. So if you make it as a black and white rule in your house without understanding why it was done, then it just, yeah, I mean, that is just mindless to me. And that goes for everything. If child is asking a question rather than getting baffled by it and thinking that, okay, I don't have the answer now, what do I do? Oh, because my mom did that or my grandmom did that. That's not a good explanation for a kid. And that is where we as a parent to understand our limitation. Okay, I actually don't know why we are doing this, and to explore further for the children. And children are obviously ask lots of questions because they're curious. They want to know everything, you know.
Yeah.
But then if we say, no, this is how it is done, and for certain things also because we are afraid, we don't want to give them the right answer because we know the right answer and it is not the good answer. You know, and it is, yes, I mean, I was talking to doing another live, and we were talking about being conscious and being aware. When you're aware, of course you understand the meaning of things. It's when you are not aware. And I think one of the things that happen, and you can tell me the other things that happen with our relationship with children or with children when we know that it is not conscious parenting that is happening there, is when children are repeating certain things. Yeah. Or that they could become sick as well. You know, they might be doing something which is actually not serving them, and it's, even physical sickness could be due to certain things that they're doing, and they don't know the reason, but they're just doing and repeating it. So what else can happen when we are stuck in that unconscious parenting? You know, what can happen then?
Good question. I completely agree, because parenting is the core of everything that happens in our life. It is through that parenting, it is through that attachment, we end up either becoming secure human beings, growing up to be secure human beings, or we either end up becoming trapped in so many unhelpful patterns. And according to Gabriel Martin, I'm sure you follow him,
Yeah.
in the first 2 years, 0 to 2 years, is so vital. And what he says is, get the first 2 years correct and then relax. Meaning, make sure the first 2 years the children are protected well, nurtured well,
Yeah.
Loved unconditionally, and the attachment, the healthy attachment, is everything to a child's development.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um,
So we should have a maternity leave for 2 years.
we definitely should. We definitely should. And parenting, and we've got to have a wider debate about how much fathers are involved, in parenting, because at the moment, if a father comes and helps the child with a little bit, and it's highly celebrated, whereas the caring is 100% put on the woman. Hello, it's parenting. It's not babysitting, it's parenting. It's 50-50 responsibility. Do you know? So we've got to have wider debates about these things.
Yeah.
And it's every belief that child carries into their adulthood comes from the environment. Now, parent cannot be held responsible all the time because there are environmental factors as well. But as long as there is a healthy attachment to at least one of the parents, that the children are actually going to be okay. They are going to be resilient. The resilience basically means being able to bounce back, but children can't bounce back when they don't have the healthy attachment, a place to come back to feel grounded, to feel accepted, and to feel loved. And children don't grow up to becoming resilient. Instead, they end up growing up to be self-reliant, which means it's my responsibility, my fault, I'll sort myself out. And this level of suppression then leads to all sorts of physical ailments later on. I'm sure it leads to infertility as well. I'm sure there is a link to that as well. So everything we do, everything we are in our adulthood, comes from this essential relationship. That's why we are mammals. That's why we drink milk from our mother. We're not reptiles. Hatch the eggs and just crawl away. There is a reason for this evolution.
Well, we take the longest to kind of leave our parents. Humans take the longest to leave their parents. But yes, it's very crucial to understand. And in order to create secure children, you have to be a secure parent, right? You have to be a secure human being. And that's a whole new discussion about looking into your own demons, looking into your own patterns, and looking into your own habits that are not helpful now that you are a parent. Up until the point that you're not parent, you're not harming anybody, you're possibly only harming yourself. But when you have a child, then you have that responsibility of shaping them. I mean, I'm a parent and I never think that I'm shaping them. I just think I'm there as a facilitator. But whatever input we have, and we do have input because we are constantly with them, as parents. So if we don't look into ourselves, then we do have a problem at hand. And that is where I guess your book is a great addition, right?
Yes, thank you very much. And it's all about getting that connection with yourself. Whatever you do, and this is where I have a problem with black and white instructions that comes in manuals, because none of those instructions help us reflect our own behaviors, which is what conscious parenting is all about. So rather than taking some alien set of instructions and trying to apply it to a child when you don't understand yourself in the first instance, and then when you don't understand the child, then it just becomes really alienated and it just creates even more, problems. So the best thing to do is to become, like you said, aware of your parents, your connection to yourself. And if you don't have that connection to yourself, you can say as much as you like about loving your children, but what you're doing is not loving your children. It's projecting whatever the patterns that you whatever the anxieties, whatever the patterns that you are carrying, you're projecting to your children through behaviors, through the language,
right,
through the voice, just by being. So unless you have that self-love, deep unconditional love for yourself, we tend to distort the attachment and the relationship that we aim to build up with our children. And children are wise enough to know the difference, because it's also an energetic connection. It's just not a mind connection. It's a heart connection. It's an energetic connection. And when your heart is not in synchronicity, I can't say the word.
Synchronicity.
Yes, and when it's not, the children feel it because they are spiritual beings.
Yeah.
They haven't developed their ego yet. They are wise. right? And their energy is not distorted with conditioning yet.
Yeah.
So when we're not energetically in alignment, our children can feel it. You know, when you're stressed, that's when your children become the most pain in the bottoms. It's because they sense it, right? You might say, I'm okay, but you know your child will come to you and go, are you okay? Or they'll become clingy, or they'll have a tantrum, or there are more tantrums than usual. It's because they know it, so they're looking for that reassurance. They don't know how to express it, therefore they communicate through their misbehavior or exaggerated behavior or tantrums or whatever it is, or clinginess. Okay, so it's our responsibility to understand, okay, something is not right. I will regulate myself first,
Yeah.
right? And then I'll be able to give that reassurance and help my child regulate. Small children, you only need a couple of minutes of a little bit of breathing, or blowing a bubble, or just a cuddle sometimes.
Yeah.
But when your heart is all over the place and it's not uh, sort of emitting that electromagnetic field that is love, your children know it.
Yeah.
So the couples also become a little bit of a, I don't know, problem, because they can feel it. So you can cuddle your children in order to help them self-regulate when you're regulated. Otherwise, the cuddles don't help as much. So it's all about us just calming our nervous system down. Parenting is a complex set of affairs. At the same time, some of these moments are golden nuggets, golden moments in your life to get that deeper connection with your children that will help your children to just thrive in their lives. Okay?
Yeah.
You just regulate yourself, calm your nervous system down, help your children calm their nervous system down, and then reason. Our parents, I mean, this is what we got trained as teachers. Reasoning first, discipline first.
Mm.
How wrong is that? We know now through research that the prefrontal cortex shuts down when the body is dysregulated, when it's on fight or flight response. So reasoning doesn't work. What do we do whenever there is a mistake? We sit them down and we give them the reason. That doesn't work. So calm down first, regulate next, and then you reason, you know, and then you reason, and that's how you get that deeper connection. My ebook actually has outlined how to do it step by step, how to recognize the moments, how to regulate, and how to reason. What skills do you need? All of that is in my ebook, so you can just go into my website www.coachingwithnasanka.com and go under free resources and download. There's several resources that you can download alongside ebook as well, and it's just simple like that. It's just as simple as that,
Yeah.
um and the connection and the trust you have with your child when you can take yourself through this process is so stronger. So even on a bad day, we all have bad days, we're humans, and it is best for us to present ourselves as normal human beings who lash out, who make mistakes, who has bad days, rather than trying to portray this superhuman demeanor in front of children, because we're all humans. They can't live up to that standards. We can't live up to that standards either. So just be real. And on bad days, when we make that mistake, when we actually lash out and shout, they just know we're having a bad day. It's not about them. And we reassure them. The trust is there. So no matter what happens in your life, the trust is there. And make sure you have that connection, because you want your children to come home, talk about everything. You want your children to come home to you, not the peers. You want your children to come home and express about the heartbreaks, express about all the bad things that happens to them, and you want to be in the center of all of it.
Yeah.
If this connection goes outwards, that's when you have the problem. If it goes to the online world, that's when you have problems. But if you can have that connection, so you bring your child to you, then you have a better chance, your children have a better chance of thriving and just living a very joyful, happy life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we want a stress-free parenting. But stress-free parenting starts from a stress-free parent who understands about their own beliefs, their values, where they come from, how they connected with their parents, and how they will now connect with their own children. You know, it's and what I have found is it's very, very hard to look at your own stuff. It's very difficult. Most people resist it. And parents, by the time they do become parents, if they have not been conscious, like I started looking into personal development when I didn't have children, you know, and I am a practitioner, so it was a different scenario. But for most people, they realize certain things when they're deep into parenting.
Yeah.
And then they don't have the time or the energy or the will sometimes and sometimes they know that there has been problematic past of whatever kind past that may be. We all have our, you know, secrets. And then they don't want to look at that because they have to be honest with themselves and then be honest with their children. You know, it is if you want authentic, as you said, genuine relationship with your children, you have to be very genuine with how you connect with yourself. If you are hiding something, then it's never going to be a transparent connection. So, well, we're going to finish because otherwise we'll be here talking. Like it happened on my other live, we were talking for an hour. Because it is complex. It is not a simple, straightforward answer. You know, it's as many parent and children there are in the world, there are that many interactions happening. So millions and millions of interactions, or rather billions of interactions happening. So one kind of set doesn't apply. There are certain rules, like you have made this, you know, set of 6 steps. Yes, those are guidelines. And then, of course, the best would be to work with you, you know, to work with a coach who can help you. That would be my advice, right?
I completely agree. You know, I wasn't able to do it. I come with 3 university degrees about child development and everything. I still needed help and complementary therapy and coaching, all the tools with me, but I still needed somebody else to guide me in the right direction because, like you said, some of our negative chatters are so normal to us. Some of these patterns have become so normal to us. We don't realize that they exist, right? So we need someone else challenging us, keeping on course, and reminding us, actually, just hang on a minute, you just said something like that. What is the belief then? And take you through the process. And there's no shame in asking for help. That doesn't make you a bad parent at all. That doesn't make you an unskilled person. That makes you a parent who wants to grow. That's just that is just the only thing that is. There is no shame in asking for help for anything. Anything. You know, I think parenting is a hard niche just because I believe the parents believe that if they ask for help, then they'll be judged for doing something wrong. No, I mess up. I mess up. The only thing is,
everybody does.
we become very aware. When I mess up, I take it away. I take the responsibility. I apologize if I have to apologize when I have to apologize, and then I question what is that pattern that made me mess up.
Yeah.
Where's the root to that pattern?
Absolutely.
And then I'll get the root and change it from the root. Because that way, when you change it energetically, when you change it in yourself, you don't have to just keep reminding yourself about stuff. You know, there is more work that we can do in a deeper level than the mindset stuff. Mindset is just the scratch. That's the subconscious stuff and the energy stuff. That's the real deal.
Oh, we're going really deep. It's a lot of hard work. I know this, and it's no laughing matter because it is based on us as human beings and what happened in our past. And but if we want to have a better future with our children and better interactions, then we need to give them that great foundation. And that's going to come by working on yourself first.
Yeah.
And then also realizing at every single step, asking every single day, did I do the justice today? Was I good enough today? Did I learn something if there was any situation like that? So great, Nisanka, you are doing wonderful work because I feel, and we know this, first 2 years, first up to 7 years of children's life is crucial for
Yeah.
their interactions, how they then see the world and go out as great human beings. They're already great, but we as parents don't damage in some ways. That's the least we can do. And it is anybody who's struggling with parenting, having issues with their kids, reach out to Nisanka. And she does coaching also with women, right? So you're doing that
Yeah,
as well.
relationship, and there's essentially the relationship with yourself, relationship with your children.
Mm.
It's that great, deeper connection that just brings us the joy and
You have
abundance.
made it really deep now.
My work is deep. My work is
Absolutely.
deep. There are several layers you can go into. It's completely up to the people to choose. I'll take you as deep as you want me to take you.
Absolutely. No, it's wonderful. And I think we both coming from similar backgrounds, South Asian background, we know there is a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
So we both are doing it, at least with our kids. And same is the message that if you are having issues with your kids, any kind of issue, don't just sit there in shame and don't sit there with thinking, oh, how will I ask for help? What will they think of me as a mother or as a father? Go and ask Nisanka or whoever is closer by to you, go and ask them. Thank you, my
Brilliant.
dear.
Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for the opportunity. Download my ebook on www.coachingwithnisanka.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.